The first sign was silence. When the Alien Alliance arrived, they did not send a message to Earth. There was no demand and no warning meant for humans. Instead, signals spread across space, aimed at every other known species. The meaning was simple and cold: stay away from Earth. Do not interfere. This fight is not yours. On Earth, people did not know this at first. They only saw strange lights near the edge of the sky. Satellites stopped responding one by one. Screens filled with static. Then the lights in cities began to fail. Power stations shut down without explanation. Communication broke apart like glass. Leaders tried to speak. Some messages went out. Most did not return. Governments lost contact with each other. Military systems failed or went blind. The world felt suddenly small and very quiet. People waited. They waited for friendly ships. They waited for old allies. They waited for someone to speak from the stars and say help was coming. Days passed. Then weeks. No one came. Above the planet, burning satellites fell like slow stars. In some places the night sky glowed with fire. In others it was dark and empty. The truth became clear to everyone, not through words but through time. Humanity was alone. Fear came first. It always did. Some people ran. Some shouted. Some hid in their homes and hoped the danger would pass. But fear did not last forever. Hunger, cold, and broken systems forced people to move. When old rules stopped working, new choices had to be made. In a small city near a river, Daniel Wright stood inside a damaged power station. He was not a soldier. He was not a leader. He was a former engineer who had once fixed machines that no one noticed when they worked. Now those machines were silent. Daniel wiped dust from his hands and looked at the broken panels. The systems were old. Some parts were burned. Others were simply disconnected. He knew they would never run the same way again. But he also knew they did not need to. A few neighbors stood behind him, watching. They did not ask for orders. They waited to see what he would do. "We won't get everything back," Daniel said calmly. "But we can get something." They nodded. That was enough. They worked with tools found in garages and stores. They used cables pulled from unused buildings. Daniel explained every step slowly and clearly. He did not hide knowledge. He shared it. When the generator finally started, it did not light the whole city. It powered one street. Then another. Light returned in small pieces. Across the city, Emma Clark opened the doors of her school. The building had thick walls and wide rooms. It still had water. She moved desks aside and laid blankets on the floor. When the first families arrived, she greeted them with a calm voice. "Stay together," she said. "We'll figure this out." She did not promise safety. She did not promise rescue. She promised effort. Children asked questions she could not answer. Parents looked at her as if she had power she did not want. Emma felt fear, but she did not let it guide her. She made lists. She organized food. She turned lessons into simple talks about helping and sharing. The school became a shelter, then a center. People came not because they were told to, but because it felt right. In other places, similar things happened. Farmers shared food without waiting for payment. Doctors worked without supplies and found new ways to treat the injured. Mechanics turned broken cars into generators. When the internet died, people used paper. When phones failed, they used voices. The Alien Alliance watched. Their ships remained distant. They struck only when needed. A factory here. A bridge there. They did not attack to destroy everything. They attacked to test. To measure response. To see how long fear would last. They expected collapse. Instead they saw change. Human groups did not move like armies. They did not protect borders or symbols. They protected people. When one place became unsafe, they moved. When a plan failed, they changed it. No one waited for permission. In the shelter, Emma noticed this too. New faces arrived every day. Some stayed. Some moved on. Before leaving, they shared what they knew. Which roads were safe. Which wells still worked. Where lights had come back on. Knowledge spread faster than fear. One night, the sky flashed bright white. A distant explosion rolled across the horizon. Windows shook. Children cried. Emma held them close and spoke softly until the sound faded. Far away, Daniel saw the same light. He turned off the generator and waited. When nothing followed, he turned it back on. The light on the street flickered, then stayed steady. "That's all we can do," he said to no one in particular. "Keep going." Slowly, the idea reached everyone. Not through speeches or commands, but through shared experience. No help was coming. The galaxy had been warned away. Humanity was fighting alone. This truth was heavy, but it was also clear. There was no waiting anymore. No hope placed in distant saviors. Only choices made here and now. Some people broke under that weight. Many did not. They learned that strength was not loud. It did not come from weapons or flags. It came from small actions repeated every day. Fixing a wire. Sharing a meal. Keeping a door open. Above Earth, alien observers recorded data that did not fit their models. Fear was present, but it did not spread the way it should. Control was lost, yet order appeared in new forms. On the ground, Daniel watched lights turn on across the river. Emma watched children fall asleep in a place that once felt ordinary. The world was broken. The future was unknown. But humanity was still standing. And for the first time they understood the cost of being alone, and the power hidden inside that truth. The alien strikes began quietly. They did not fall like storms or fire across the whole planet. They came in careful lines. A bridge used too often. A warehouse holding fuel. A radio tower that connected too many people. The Alien Alliance believed pressure would work better than chaos. Break the support points and the rest would fall on its own. They expected panic. They expected surrender. Instead, humans changed. When the first supply routes were cut, people did not argue about who was in charge. They did not wait for orders from broken governments. They talked to each other. They shared what they knew even when it felt risky. Information moved by word, by note, by hand-drawn signs nailed to walls. Old rules faded. New ones formed naturally. Olivia Harris stood over a table covered in paper maps. The room was dim, lit by a single hanging lamp. She had never planned routes before the invasion. She worked in an office once, managing schedules that did not matter much. Now every line she drew meant food, water, or medicine reaching someone who needed it. She used pencils because batteries were rare. She marked roads with simple symbols. A circle meant safe today. A cross meant destroyed. A question mark meant unknown. Don't trust the map, she told the runners gathered around her. Trust the people you meet. They nodded. They were young and old, tired and scared but focused. No uniforms marked them. No ranks. They carried bags, bikes, carts, and sometimes nothing but memory. When a route failed, Olivia erased it and drew another. She did not ask permission. She did not feel guilt. This was not about perfection. It was about movement. Across the region, Michael Reed worked with volunteers in an open field near the edge of a town. He had once trained security guards. Now he trained anyone who showed up. Farmers, students, shop workers, parents. He spoke clearly and kept his words few. Rule 1, he said, holding up one finger. Protect people. Rule 2, he continued, lifting another finger. Survive. He paused before raising the third. Winning comes last, he said. If it comes at all. Some looked confused. Others looked relieved. Michael showed them how to move quietly. How to spot danger early. How to pull someone from rubble without tools. He did not teach them how to attack. He taught them how to leave alive. When alien drones passed overhead, the group did not stand their ground. They scattered. They hid. They waited. When the danger moved on, they returned and helped each other back up. The aliens noticed this pattern. They struck a supply depot, expecting loss to weaken morale. Instead, the next day, smaller depots appeared across the area. They destroyed a convoy and footpaths replaced it. They cut power again and humans switched to hand tools and daylight work. Nothing stayed still. In one town, a family opened their home to strangers whose shelter was gone. In another, a group of mechanics took apart broken alien machines, not to use them but to understand how to avoid them. Knowledge spread faster than fear because no one kept it locked away. Humans shared plans openly. They drew maps on walls. They spoke on open radios. They wrote instructions in simple words so anyone could follow them. The Alien Alliance could hear much of this. They could see it too. Their commanders expected chaos without control. Instead, they saw flexible order. No central command to destroy. No single leader to remove. When one group failed, another learned. The aliens increased pressure. A hospital was targeted. Not destroyed, but damaged enough to force evacuation. Humans did not rush to defend the building. They moved the patients. They carried beds through side streets. Doctors worked in homes and schools. The hospital became empty stone. The strike achieved nothing. Michael watched one such evacuation from a distance. He helped guide people away, then disappeared before alien sensors locked onto the area. Later he sat on the ground, breathing hard. We didn't lose anyone, someone said. That's winning, Michael replied. Far from the front lines, Olivia received reports of attacks and changes. She adjusted routes again. When asked how long the paper maps would last, she smiled tiredly. As long as we do, she said. The alien observers recorded another strange thing. Humans often helped those they did not know. Supplies were shared without records. Risk was taken for strangers. This behavior did not fit the expected pattern of a species under threat. They looked for signs of internal collapse. Rival groups. Power struggles. None lasted long. When arguments happened, they ended quickly. Survival left little room for pride. In one damaged city, a group stood between an alien patrol and a group of fleeing families. They did not fire. They made noise. They drew attention. When the patrol turned toward them, they ran in different directions, leading it away. Most of them escaped. Two did not. The families lived. The story spread quietly. Not as a speech. Not as propaganda. Just as fact. Humans did not fight for medals or names. They fought for moments. For time. For people standing next to them. The Alien Alliance reviewed the data again and again. Their models predicted collapse by now. Instead, resistance had grown softer but wider. Hard to see. Hard to end. They had expected a fight for control. What they found was something else. A species that did not need permission to act. A species that did not wait for victory to protect life. On a hill outside the town, Michael watched smoke rise in the distance. He checked on his group one by one. Everyone was there. Move in 10 minutes, he said. No rush. In a quiet room lit by a lamp, Olivia folded her maps carefully and handed copies to new runners. Ask people, she reminded them. They know more than I do. Across the planet, the same choices were being made. Not loud. Not heroic. Just human. And slowly, the aliens began to understand they were not facing an army. They were facing a people who refused to stop choosing each other. The attacks did not stop. They became sharper and more frequent. The Alien Alliance learned from every strike. They hit faster. They hit deeper. They targeted patterns they thought they understood. Power returned in one place, so they cut it. Food moved along a route, so they broke it. Messages traveled through radios, so they filled the air with noise. Human systems broke again and again. And each time humans made them simpler. When networks failed completely, runners appeared on the roads. They carried notes in pockets and bags. Some rode bikes. Some walked for days. They memorized messages in case paper was lost. They did not carry secrets. If one runner fell, another could speak the same words. In one region, a young runner crossed burned streets every morning. She did not know who first wrote the message she carried. She only knew where it had to go. When asked her name, she shrugged. It doesn't matter, she said. The message does. When factories fell, communities did not wait for new ones. They gathered tools and worked by hand. Old machines were taken apart and rebuilt in smaller forms. Pieces were shared across towns. Nothing was wasted. Lucas Bennett stood in a workshop that once made parts for cars. Half the roof was gone. Sunlight poured in. The machines were quiet, but the room was full of people. Lucas spoke slowly as he drew lines on a board. This part breaks too often, he said. So we remove it. Someone asked if that would reduce power. Yes, Lucas replied. But it will still work. That was enough. He designed machines with fewer parts and wider tolerances. They were not fast. They were not clean. But anyone could fix them with basic tools. He explained everything as he worked. He encouraged others to improve the designs and write their changes down. Don't ask me, he said often. Try it. In another building nearby, Anna Moore sat at a table stacked with notebooks. She recorded everything she could. Designs. Failures. New ideas. She used clear words and simple drawings. She avoided long explanations. Someone else will need this, she told anyone who questioned why she kept writing. When power came and went, Anna used daylight. When paper ran low, she wrote smaller. When ink ran out, she used charcoal. Copies of her notes spread across the region. Some were lost. Some were burned. Enough survived. The alien commanders watched all of this with growing confusion. They expected fear to grow as systems failed. They expected order to vanish. Their models showed that complex societies collapsed when their connections broke. Earth's connections were shattered. But the collapse did not come. Instead, the systems became smaller, slower, harder to detect, harder to destroy. When a command center was hit, nothing changed. There was no center left to remove. When a storage site was destroyed, supplies appeared elsewhere. When one plan failed, a new one replaced it by the next day. Sometimes by the next hour. Humans changed plans constantly. A safe road became dangerous. People stopped using it. A shelter became known. People moved. Nothing stayed fixed long enough to be fully controlled. Mistakes happened every day. A machine failed at the wrong time. A runner was delayed. A tool broke when it was needed most. People were hurt. Some were lost. Humans did not hide these mistakes. They talked about them. What went wrong? Someone would ask. What do we change? Someone else would answer. Lucas listened when others criticized his designs. He changed them. Anna updated her records. Old notes were crossed out. New ones were added. Nothing was treated as perfect. The aliens found this disturbing. In their experience, failure caused panic. Panic caused blame. Blame caused fracture. Fracture caused collapse. Here, failure caused learning. Alien observers noted that humans did not cling to plans. They clung to people. When a workshop was destroyed, the workers regrouped elsewhere. When a runner went missing, others took their routes. When a shelter was lost, families moved together to a new place. There was grief, but it did not stop movement. In one town, an alien strike destroyed a hand-built water system. The pipes melted. The tanks cracked. The people stood in silence for a moment, staring at the damage. Then someone said, "We know how to build it." They started again. It took longer the second time. It worked better. Anna heard about the rebuilt system and added a new page to her notes. She included the mistake that caused the first failure. So the next place doesn't repeat it, she said. Lucas visited the site weeks later. He studied the pipes and smiled faintly. You improved it, he told them. They nodded. It felt normal now. The alien commanders increased attack strength. They believed more force would end adaptation. Instead, it accelerated it. Humans stopped relying on anything that could not be replaced. They chose tools that could be made locally. They trusted people more than systems. When radios failed completely, people set meeting times instead of sending messages. If someone did not arrive, they assumed change was needed and acted on their own. No one waited. This made prediction almost impossible. Alien simulations failed again and again. Human behavior refused to settle into patterns. Even when similar situations appeared, responses were different. Choices changed based on mood, weather, loss, and simple human feeling. The aliens called it instability. Humans called it living. One night, Anna closed her last notebook and wrapped it carefully. She handed it to a runner heading north. Give this to anyone who asks for it, she said. The runner nodded and left without questions. Lucas shut down the workshop lights and stepped outside. He watched people working under the open sky. He knew the machines would break again someday. That's fine, he thought. We'll fix them again. Above Earth, alien commanders stared at reports that made no sense. Fear had not vanished. Collapse had not happened. Control had failed. Humanity had become harder to defeat the more it was damaged. Because every loss taught them something new. Because every mistake made them faster. Because nothing mattered more than learning and moving forward together. The attacks grew stronger. So did humanity. And the aliens were no longer sure which side was truly adapting. The final push began without warning. The alien alliance moved in force, no longer testing, no longer measuring. Their ships filled the sky in clear patterns. Their weapons struck faster and harder than before. Whole areas shook as energy burned through ground and steel. The message was simple: this would end now. The aliens believed they had learned enough. They had mapped human movement. They had studied supply paths. They had measured response time. Their strategy was clean and direct. Push forward, break resistance, force surrender. What they did not understand was that humans were no longer trying to win. Humans were trying to protect. When the first waves hit, people did not rush toward the enemy. They moved away from danger. Streets emptied. Shelters shifted. Entire communities packed what they could carry and left before the strikes arrived. Ethan Collins stood at a broken intersection, dust covering his jacket. He held a hand-drawn sign pointing down a narrow road. People passed him without stopping. Some nodded. Some did not look back. Keep moving, he said, calm and steady. Plenty of space ahead. Ethan never called himself a leader. He did not give speeches. He learned routes by walking them and memorizing turns. When one path became unsafe, he erased it from memory and found another. People followed him because he stayed, not because he commanded. When alien fire cut off the main road, Ethan waved families into an old rail tunnel. It was dark and cold, but safe for now. He counted people as they passed, not to record them, but to make sure no one was missing. Last group, he asked. A woman shook her head. 2 more back there. Ethan turned and ran toward danger without thinking. Across the region, radios crackled with broken sound. Many words were lost. Some messages arrived late or incomplete. In the middle of this noise, Grace Walker's voice carried clearly. "Breathe," she said into the radio. "You have time." Grace had once worked in emergency services. Now she sat in a small room filled with damaged equipment. She spoke slowly and evenly, choosing words that mattered. She did not shout. She did not panic. "Follow the last instruction you heard," she continued. "If it feels wrong, change it. Trust each other." People listened. When a group became trapped between advancing alien units, Grace guided them step by step. When a shelter lost contact, she spoke until the signal returned or the batteries died. Her calm became an anchor in the chaos. The aliens pushed harder. They advanced along fixed lines, clearing ground as they went. Their weapons were strong. Buildings fell. Roads melted. From above, the attack looked perfect. From the ground, it looked slow. Every time the aliens secured an area, it was empty. Every time they advanced, humans had already moved. Civilians vanished into side streets, tunnels, forests, and hills. When a route closed, 3 more opened. Humans blocked paths with fallen debris. They collapsed bridges only after crossing them. They delayed attacks with noise, movement, and false signals. They never stayed long enough to be trapped. This was not retreat. It was flow. Ethan led another group through a narrow valley as explosions echoed behind them. Children clutched hands. Older people leaned on sticks and each other. No one complained. They had done this before. "Almost there," Ethan said, though he did not know exactly where there was. It did not matter. Grace heard his update through broken static. She marked a new safe zone on her paper map. "That area will hold for a few hours," she said to another voice on the line. "Then move again." The alien commanders grew frustrated. Their systems showed success. Territory gained. Targets destroyed. But surrender did not come. Panic did not spread. Human resistance did not break. Instead, it slipped through their fingers. They increased firepower. This only made human movement faster. More destruction meant fewer fixed points to defend. More chaos meant more freedom to change. The aliens could not adjust quickly enough. Their strategy depended on control, on holding ground, on forcing decisions. Humans refused to play that game. Humans chose when to move. Humans chose when to stay. Humans chose who mattered. In one town, an alien unit reached the center and found nothing but empty streets and open doors. A message was left on a wall, written in simple words. "We were here. We are gone. You did not win." The alien commanders reviewed the final data. They saw something they had not predicted. Humanity was not resisting in one direction. It was choosing in many. When the push reached its limit, the alien alliance paused. Ships hovered. Weapons stayed ready. But no final strike followed. The cost was too high. Not in losses, but in time and uncertainty. The aliens realized something too late. Every decision they made was planned far in advance. Every decision humans made happened in the moment. They could not control that. They could not defeat choice. As the alien fleets began to pull back, Ethan stood at the edge of a safe zone and watched the sky. Grace removed her headset and rested her hands. The world was damaged. People were tired. But humanity was still moving. Still choosing. And that was something no weapon could stop. The silence came slowly. At first, no one trusted it. The sky had been loud for too long. Ships had crossed it every day. Light and fire had marked the hours. When the alien fleets began to pull back, people did not cheer. They watched. They waited. The ships did not turn back. They moved away from Earth in wide, careful lines. No final strike followed. No message came. The alien alliance did not speak. They recorded, classified, and withdrew. In their sealed records, Earth was marked as a dangerous world. Not because of weapons. Because humans did not break. On the ground, the planet looked wounded. Cities were burned. Roads were split. Forests carried scars that would last for generations. Some places were empty forever. But the world was alive. People stepped out of shelters and ruins. They stood in open spaces and felt the air. Some cried. Some laughed quietly. Many simply sat down, too tired to move. There was no victory parade. There was work. Daniel Wright returned to the power station by the river. The building was damaged, but the walls still stood. He walked through broken glass and bent metal, checking what remained. The old system was gone for good. That was fine. He gathered a small group and showed them a new layout. It was smaller, slower, easier to fix. It would not power a city. It would power a neighborhood. They built it together. When the generator started, a few lights came on across the river. Daniel watched them reflect on the water. One by one more lights joined them. The night was no longer completely dark. In another part of the city, Emma Clark unlocked the doors of her school again. The building had been used as a shelter for so long that it no longer felt like a school. She cleaned the rooms with volunteers. They fixed broken chairs. They painted over dark marks on the walls. Children returned slowly. Some were quiet. Some asked too many questions. Emma welcomed them all. Lessons began again, but they were different now. Children learned reading and numbers. They also learned how to share tools, how to listen, and how to help without being asked. Emma stood outside one evening and looked up. The sky was clear. No ships. No fire. Just stars. Across the world, rebuilding followed the same pattern. No single plan guided it. Communities chose what they needed first. Water. Power. Food. Learning. Old borders mattered less. Knowledge was shared freely. Designs traveled faster than materials. Mistakes were accepted as part of the process. People rebuilt not to return to the old world, but to make a better one. In places where cities could not be saved, new ones grew nearby. They were smaller, greener, easier to protect. People remembered what had failed before and avoided it. Alien observers watched from a distance, long after the fleets had gone. Their reports did not change. Humanity was unpredictable. Humanity was united under pressure. Humanity could not be controlled without destroying what made it human. The galaxy learned quietly. Trade routes shifted away from Earth. Maps marked the system with warnings. Not because humans were violent. Because they chose each other over fear. Daniel walked home one night under working streetlights. They were uneven and dim, but they were real. He passed neighbors talking, repairing, planning. Emma closed the school and stood still for a moment. The wind was gentle. The world felt fragile but hopeful. Humanity had fought alone. No allies had come. No rescue had arrived. And still they stood. Not because they were stronger than the galaxy, but because when everything else failed, they chose to protect life, share knowledge, and keep moving forward together. Far beyond Earth, records were sealed. Warnings were issued. Histories were rewritten. The world would never forget the day humanity fought alone. And the galaxy would never forget what that revealed about them.